Good evening, everybody. I don't know how many of us are here from the advisory council. Is there just two of us so far?
I think three of us.
Three of us.
Oh, three of us. Okay, we're just not missing Amy, I think. Yeah. Okay, as long as we have three of us, that's a majority, so it should be okay. Do we have minutes to review?
Not yet. I'm still working on it.
Okay. So we don't have to deal with it. So look at the agenda. So at this point, is David Rosenbach with us tonight? I see. It's David.
Yes,
Hi.
I am.
Hi, David. Are you prepared to share the Hawaii County House District map that the Reapportionment Commission has proposed?
Yes,
Okay, so I guess at this point, what we can do is if you can do a presentation about the district and the boundaries.
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Can we see the big map?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna try and zoom in a little bit. So, I'm not from the Big Island. So anybody feel free to help me with these boundaries. I know some
Yeah.
folks have looked at it already.
That's District 1. Yeah, so District 1 in Hilo, from what I can see, looking at it earlier, kind of goes up Waianui Avenue and up through Kamana, I think.
See, I can make that bigger. Let me try something else.
You could go down a few pages and you'd get to the house too, if that's what you want to get at. Is
Yeah,
it a
that's-
zoom in of house
Right.
two?
Why don't we change places and you do this? Is that
Yeah,
right?
it'll take me a second.
All right. We're in luck.
Okay, thank you, Royce. I thank both of you for all the work that you've done, put through this and have to redo it in a very short notice. Yeah, amazing. And through the holidays too. Thank you.
It was pretty crazy.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the interactive map. That may be the easiest to kind of move around and see different things. In
Yeah,
a
when I
moment
looked at it
here,
online,
I
I
will
was able
share
to
my screen.
zoom in and see. pretty
Okay,
good
so
detail.
David, you got to make me a host or co-host so I can share my screen.
I'm not the guy. Somebody else will have to make it.
Okay.
I just did it.
Thank you. All right, so now we're looking at the proposed plan and I can zoom in quickly here and we can see,
Okay, that's good detail,
yeah, Wainui Avenue.
yeah.
And then cuts over here. I'm not sure what it's following, some other boundary, following the stream. Waipahoehoe stream. And then I'm assuming this is some sort of administrative boundary.
Hmm. And that's pretty all unpopulated areas at that point. And then on the opposite end, on the north end of District 1, I know it includes Waipio Valley and all that, but what is the boundary between Waimea and District 1?
Now I see a stream there
Mhm.
and it looks like some kind of, again, administrative boundary. I don't see a street until it hits Hawaii Belt Road.
So it doesn't go into Waimea at all, then.
It looks like we're pretty clear of Waimea. Yeah, Waimea looks solidly in House 8.
Mhm. Yeah, okay. Okay,
I
then
can
we
zoom in till we see population. Yeah, we see there's not much over here.
yeah, this is pretty all unpopulated area.
Can I make a comment about the Waimea?
Let's let him review the map and then we can come back when we have public testimony. We'll come back. You can
Well,
have
but I'd like to comment on the map if I might.
okay. I mean, you can comment at this point. That's okay.
Okay, it might give us all a little perspective here. I used to live in Waimea. And the area of Waimea that's being incorporated into District 1 is basically working people who live in Waimea. And I think we would find that the constituency in that area is actually more in line with the Honoka'a community. So I have no objections to, and I live in Waimea in Honoka'a. I think that's the most logical thing that the redistricting people could do in order to satisfy, the population requirements. So I think, I don't think that's a purpose of discussion here tonight, unless other people have some objections.
Okay, that's good. So let's look at District 2. In the interest of time, just quickly go through this because I know that there are other testimony and there are other suggested maps as well. So I just wanted to quickly review what the proposed districts are from the Reapportionment Commission for the technical team. The District 2 is pretty much Hilo proper.
Yeah, mostly. And then it comes down here. A
So
little
it takes
bit on
some of,
Kavili Street,
yeah, some of what they call the Waikea house lots area.
Koinako.
Kind of follows along the Wailoa stream. This is Kawili Poinako. So the university on one side, Waikea High School on the other side. And then I don't know what street that is. That it cuts. What street is that it's cutting?
Basically the Belt Road.
Mm-hmm. So District 2 is pretty much all of Hilo proper and some of the Waikea area. The lion's share of the Waikea area. But then District 3 goes from Kiokaha, Paneava, includes some of the house lots area, and then goes all the way up to Keao. But it includes Orchid Land, Ainaloa, Tiki Gardens.
Yep.
Hawaiian Acres,
Burn Acres.
Fern Acres, Hawaiian Acres, and Eden Rock. No, not as far as Eden Rock. Fern Acres and Hawaiian Acres. Yeah.
Yep.
And then District 4 is basically all of Paradise Park.
HPP.
And, yeah, HPP and Hawaiian beaches, and then all of Pahoa, Nana Valley, Leilani, what's left of Leilani, and then all plus of Kapo, Kalapana, Kaimu area. Yeah. Okay, and then District 5.
There we go.
Yeah, that's the huge district that goes all the way from Mountain View to Captain Cook, I think, right? Includes all of Volcano, Pahala, Naalehu, Hawaiian Ocean View Estates, and I think that's just into Captain Cook in one, right?
Yep, oh, no, and then Captain Cook's where it cuts.
Yeah, kind of
Back
splits
Malco.
some of Captain Cook, the Mackay side. Okay, and then District 6 it basically goes from the Captain Cook boundary into just about half of Kailua. What is that boundary? It's not a street that cuts that district.
Oh, yeah, some other boundary.
Hmm. This Kailua Bay, right? So just before you get into Kalani Street and stuff. Yeah. And then on the Mauka side, as you go towards the mountain, it's cuts across.
Into Pahakuloa.
No, I mean just looking at the top part of that district. So it probably takes most of Holualoa and all of that area. And then District 7 is again half of Kailua, and then all the way out
Pahakuloa.
the Palisades and all that area. And then it's that district cut short, just short of Waikoloa. Waikoloa is not in District 7, but it takes part of because of the numbers, it took some census tracts along the Waikoloa resort area, not Waikoloa village, but along the resort area, along the ocean here. So that's District 7, and District 8 is Waikoloa village. Then going north, of course, so Puako, Kauai, and then all the way up to Hawi and Kapaa and Kohala, North Kohala, and then the majority of Waimea. I'm still kind of unclear as to what part of Waimea is in District 1. I imagine if it's the outskirts of Waimea, it's probably the Lakeland area. Again, it's always a challenge to get to the exact numbers. You try not to separate communities as best as possible, but sometimes it's impossible. I don't see any streets there, strangely. Bring
There's
more.
Homestead Road.
Hmm.
Is that a good landmark? I don't know.
You see Mud Lane,
Ono Road, Homestead
Ono.
Road.
Mana Road, or any of that, Mana Road or Mud Lane. I don't know where the Homestead Road is. I'm not familiar with it.
Mud Lane. We got lots of mud lanes.
Historically, a lot of
Oh,
times
goodness.
people, Mud Lane is,
Would that be in Waimea, Mud Lane?
yeah, in Waimea.
There we go. Hero, Mud Lane. No, still New York. Jeez. Mud Lane, Honoka'a, Mud Lane, Pa'auhau.
No,
That
not the
one?
front, always further south.
Yeah, it's Honoka'a, that one.
Honoka'a. Okay. No, didn't find it. Okay, shoot.
Mud Lane comes up from the top of Waipio Valley and then it cuts across.
Oh, here's Mud Lane right here. Yeah. There's Mud Lane.
Okay,
And so it looks like, yeah, but they, the
So it's
upper
probably-
reaches, we get
yeah, so
Cane Hall Road.
Lakeland area is south of Mud Lane, so that's probably the Lakeland area that's in District 1. As you see, some of District 1, some of Waimea is in District 1, the majority of Waimea is in District 8.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's good. Gives us a good understanding of what the proposed map is. And if anybody else has any questions,
Did we go over the east side or was that just the west side?
we did go over the east side. We started at District 1 and went around. The District 1 basically goes from Waipio Valley to some of Waimea, I think the Lakeland area, and then all the way into Hilo, and Wainui Avenue is basically the boundary.
Question?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for your service. I'm just curious why the commission map chose to keep all of HPP, which has a build out of 10,000 lots, so that there'll be a whole voting block of very civically participatory people, whereas the Acres and Fern Acres, all those people less participatory to government and poor overall. I'm just curious why it has that kind of gerrymandering hook as opposed to splitting it straight to the sea from the acres to the sea and let that be a section. Thank you.
I think that there was previous public testimony at previous meetings and public hearings about wanting to keep Paradise Park together intact as one community. The initial map that the Reapportionment Commission suggested had split Hawaiian Paradise Park. So, I mean, yeah, so, okay. Now I know that there are at least another map that was suggested by a community group. I don't know if there are any other maps that were suggested. Royce, do you know if there are any other maps besides the other one that was proposed?
Hello, Steve.
Yes,
This is Ralph Voya. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm looking for a way to raise my hand. I don't know how. Yes, we do have another map. We have the Voya Community Plan map, which I think is a far better plan. If Royce would be able to pull that one up, it's on the same page that he has opened for the house proposed, Hawaii House proposed. On that same page is Hawaii House Voya Community Plan.
Okay, yeah, Royce is gonna put it up.
We actually have 5 different Hawaii House plans.
Oh, okay. Well, we can-
Casal plan, 3 Eustis plans,
we can-
and the Boyer plan that he's talking about, the community plan. So that was the question. I'll go ahead and open up that one.
we can quickly look at all of them, I guess, yeah.
Although maybe the interactive map would be easier to see.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, okay, let me pull up the interactive. I mean, they're all here under public
Maybe we-
submissions. If you go on down, here's all the maps for Hawaii House.
Maybe we should do one at a time, though.
Well, yeah, that's where we got the tabs here. So Casal looks like that.
That's the Boye map that you're showing now.
Oh, this is Casal.
Okay,
Someone said, look at each one. So I thought I'd finish with the
that's a good idea.
Boyer, but there's Casal, Eustis V3, Eustis V2, Eustis V1. And whoops, what happened there? I lost my screen share. Hang on. Oh, I see. There we go. And this is the community plan. I don't know if you can read the text there, but this is the one that Ralph's talking about.
Steve, would you like me to speak to this plan?
yeah, you can tell us about the boundaries. You're familiar with the boundaries more than I am, yeah.
Yes, okay. First and foremost, the plan was designed based on the Hawaii State constitutional criteria that said that whenever possible, the House district should be wholly contained within the Senate districts. So what we did was we took the Hawaii Reapportionment Commission's map of the Senate districts and said, is it possible to divide them into 2 House districts? And it definitely was possible. So when you look at this map here, the first thing that I think is important to see is that where the House districts are within the Senate districts. So for an example, at the top of the map, you have House District 7 and 8. Those are wholly and entirely contained within Senate District 4. Going down south below House District 8, House District 1 and House District 2 are wholly and entirely contained within Senate District 1. Then House District 3 and 4 are entirely contained within Senate District 2. And then finally moving over to 5 and 6, those districts are wholly and entirely contained in Senate District 3. So the boundary between, let's say for the moment you're looking at that, House Districts 6 and 7, that's the Senate District boundary. The boundary between House District 2 and 3, that's the Senate District boundary. The boundary between House District 1 and 8 is also a Senate District boundary. So we didn't create new boundaries. We utilized the boundaries created by the commission when they developed the Senate District maps. A little bit more detail for the House, we'll go for House 1. It starts right around Pipigale, and it goes on down into Hilo. And it goes into Hilo down to, I think it's Punahou Street. And then it comes over up to Kaumana and across to, I think it's Pololo or Popolo, I think it is. And then Moho'uli to Kaumana again and up High. When it goes up High, that's at the bottom of your map, it goes all the way out into the Forest Reserve. So that's House District 1. House District 2, the boundary is basically the same one. Basically, between 1 and 2 is the boundary I just mentioned. So we're gonna have to say that again. And then it includes all of Keau, a great portion of Hilo. It includes Panaewa, and then it goes on out again from Panaewa out to the Forest Reserve. House District 3 starts at the ocean, and it starts right around the Mac Farms area. So that's not a populated area. And it includes Keau, Curtis Down, Mountain View, Glenwood, on out. It includes all of the Mauka subdivisions of Fern Forest, Eden Rock, Hawaiian Acres, and Orchid Land. It goes as far south as Ainaloa along Highway 130. This area, I'd like to point out, according to the census that was taken in 2020, the Keau Mountain View area that this covers has a total population of 41,210 people. A House district has I think it's 24,999. So you can clearly see how this area here definitely deserves to have a House district, and the numbers definitely qualify for a House district. Sorry, my voice isn't great. Moving on down to House 4. Yes, House 4 also includes all of Paradise Park. The people of Paradise Park definitely wanted that. They objected early on to the House, the Reapportionment Commission plan that cut Paradise Park in half, and then at another point in time, I think it was 80%. So it includes all of Paradise Park, Hawaiian Beaches, Nana Valley, all of the, actually, if you will, southeastern Puna subdivisions. House 3 and House 4 are pretty much almost entirely, I think if not entirely, contained in the geographic district of Puna. And the geographic district of Puna has a total population based on the census of over 51,000 something, I think it is. I'm sorry, I don't remember that number off the top of my head. But it's in that ballpark. It's around 51,000. And that 25,000 per house district, it divides up almost perfectly into 2 house districts, that 1 Senate district and the geographic district of Puna. There is a problem following Senate district lines, but the Constitution says if it's practicable, which means if you can do it, you got to do it. So we did it. One problem area is in House 3 where it gets up in the volcano. We would really love to have the Mauka side of highway, I think that's Highway 11, part of volcano in House District 3. But to follow the criteria, it doesn't fit. And also the numbers are such that it really doesn't meet the criteria also of trying to have relatively equal populations. So regretfully, part of volcano is in House District 5. But it takes House District 5, then goes south along highway, I think it's 19, the Volcano Road. Somebody can help me with that. Anyway, yeah, Highway 11, excuse me. It goes south. It includes all of the subdivisions of Pahala, Na'alehu, across into Hawaiian Ocean View Estates, and on up the coastline to just a little bit beyond the Kealakekua area. Or now in Kealakekua. Now, interestingly, so that's it. And the boundaries that to the north of that is kind of like a nondescript boundary, but again, it is the Senate District 3 boundary. We then go into House 6. When you get into House 6, we were able, according to Dylan Nonaka's testimony at the HRC Commission meeting, he said that the numbers required him to cut Kailua Kona in half. Well, they didn't require that, and we didn't do that. Kailua Kona remains whole, and this area covers Holualoa, Kailua Kona up into Honoka'au, up to the Palani Junction. And again, the northern boundary of House District 6 is the boundary of House 5, Senate House 5, and Senate 3 and Senate 4. We then go for House 7. House 7, this whole process, there's nothing that's perfect. You have to follow the boundaries. You have to follow the census blocks. That's the problem. But House, excuse me. I'm hearing.
Do you have two people on Zoom at the same time? One person has to mute or something, I think.
Okay, I'll try to live with that.
I think Ariel has signed on as well, I think.
I think she's got it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I think she's got it off. Okay, thank you. So House District 7, sorry. I'm sorry about that, people. It basically, again, I say it starts at the boundary of Senate District 4. If you could expand it, please, Royce, a little. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And I appreciate all the work you've done, Royce, especially on getting the numbers correct. So anyway, it goes up from Kala'oa and it covers most of the areas along Waikoloa, Naiho'omalo Bay, that area up through Waikoloa. And it goes north into, it ends in, I think it's the Hawaiian homelands, just above Kauai High.
Mm-hmm.
So that, in terms of Waimea, if you move it more east, Royce, over towards Waimea, the majority of Waimea is included in House District. I think that's 8, the green one, House District 8. Yes, we had to divide Waimea. We tried our best not to. But the only way to make the numbers match, because there's a lot of very sparsely populated areas in there, in order to make the numbers match and to stay along the boundary of a road, which is required to stay along those boundaries. We tried really hard to get all of Waimea into one district. We weren't able to do that. We acknowledge that. And that's one of the areas where perhaps the criteria conflict a little bit. But again, if you're really trying to make equal numbers, that's what we had to do. So as I say, House District 7 ends up around the Hawaiian Homelands area. And then we have finally House District 8. If you go to the north at the top of House District 8, Royce. So basically it includes all of the Mahukona, all of Hawi, Waimea, Kohala, and all of the entire Hamakua coast. And it goes on down, as we mentioned earlier, to Pepe Kale. Basically, House District 8 encompasses the geographic districts of North Hilo, Hamakua, and North Kohala. And then House 1 is the geographic district pretty much of South Hilo. House 1 and 2, excuse me. House 3 and 4 are the geographic district of Puna. House District 5 and 6 encompass Ka'u and South Kona. And House District 7 pretty much is the Kailua Kona, Waikoloa, South Kohala, North Kona area. What this does basically is looking at the census numbers. What it does is we basically have provided so that the geographic districts and the areas on the island have equal representation. Hilo, which is a high population area, gets 2 House districts. Kona gets 2 House districts, and Puna get 2 House districts. And all of those 3 areas have a population roughly in the 50,000 range. The areas that are sparsely populated to the north, House District actually 8, that has North Hilo, Hamakua, and Kohala, which according to the census are sparsely populated areas. And then House District 5 is South Kona and Ka'u. So we took into consideration all of the geographic districts, the census data, and the types of people in the district. Our House District 3 has a very homogeneous population, whereas the HRC plan, they mix up Hilo and Keo and the Mauka subdivisions in Eden Rock, Orchid Land, and all of that. They have nothing to do with the socioeconomic conditions of Hilo, and it clearly violates one of the criteria set forth in the Hawaii Constitution about keeping these districts, letting them have, basically the same type of socioeconomic population. So that's what we did. That's our map. I can speak more to it in my testimony. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
If people have questions, I see a couple people have their hands raised. Amy, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have several questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been hearing a lot of discussion, not today, but there's a lot of discussion about the area on the Big Island that has the largest amount of growth. And I was just wondering if anyone knows exactly the boundaries or the approximate area of the growth that gave us the HC. I know it's someplace in Puna, but I'm not a map person, so I'm not really able to hone in on all these census blocks. But where is it? It's
Ralph, you want to answer that
in
question?
Puna. Yes, please.
I'm not, excuse me, but I'm hearing a lot of feedback again. Is Ariel, you got to keep it.
Yeah, I think Ariel
yes.
has a thing on again.
I'm not really understand when you say the area that has the largest amount of votes.
Yeah,
Is that
it's okay, Ralph. I'm not asking
So
you.
based on
I'm
the
asking
census
one
amount of growth of the last 10 years. I think, I mean, we all know that the biggest growth in the Big Island was in Puna and in Kona proper, and then Hilo actually declined over the last 10 years. But she's trying to ask if you know specifically what area, based on the 2020 census, what part of Puna grew the most. I don't know that offhand myself, but I know that Puna and Kona were the two areas that had the most growth.
And then what area in Kona and what was their amount of growth?
Yeah, I don't know the specific amount. I think that I don't
So
know,
then
Royce
in the
maybe knows.
Office of Elections, the people that did the map with the assistance of the technical commission people.
Royce and David, they're here tonight. They would know that better than any of us for sure.
Okay.
The only numbers I have handy here are the numbers for the previous House districts, the current House districts, right, that we've had the last 10 years.
Mhm.
And there you can see that House 4 grew by 7.65%.
Okay.
And
Okay.
actually House 2 lost by
Yeah,
7%.
the Hilo area. Right.
And then if we
right.
go over here, House 6 grew by 8.96%. So the only where within that, I don't know, but just
That's
House 6, the
that's a
current
good-
House 6
Kailua,
grew by almost
Kona,
9%.
Okay.
Hope
So,
that partly answers your question.
kinda.
Can I,
Chair
can I
Patel, if you would permit me, this is Shannon Matson. I put a link in the chat that answers Amy's question, I believe. It's from the Hawaii Tribune Herald back in August 30th of this past year. And it has a breakdown with a chart that shows, it doesn't show like the exact census block by block, but it says the general areas, like it says Kea'au, Mountain View, and it has the population data, the difference, and the percentage increase, and then goes down that list. So there is a chart there that was at least compiled from, I'm not sure what source, but I'm assuming just from the census directly.
I would assume from the census. Yeah.
Yes,
So
that's-
in the
that's the map
Voya
what we use.
plan, does the House District 4 on the Voya plan reflect the growth in that area?
May I answer that?
Yes.
Please.
Okay, House District 4 and House District 3, as I mentioned, are now in our plan in Senate District 2. House District 3, according to the population, that census data that was just on the screen, they had the highest increase in population from 2010 to 2020, up to 41,000. The House District 4 part includes part of the Kea'au Mountain View area with the 41,000, and it also includes the Pahoa Kalapana area based on the data that was just shown, which has 10,500 people. So when you put the two of those together, 41,000 and 10,500, you get basically almost 52,000 people. So the two
Okay,
are
so
divided up
in your-
equally.
Right. So in your in the Voya District 3, that's the area that you're saying had the most growth, because it's kind of different from what's in existence now, right?
It's very different from the
It's very different.
standpoint that it does not include Hilo, because the population out in that area, as we just talked about, it doesn't need to include Hilo. And that helps Hilo also. That keeps the Hilo people in their Hilo districts, and it keeps the people who are in these rural subdivisions in their own district.
Okay, and then I do have a couple more questions, but my other main question is, why is House District 5 so big?
So it's so sparsely populated. Yeah. It's a lot of land, but there's not a lot of dense population in that southern part of the island. I don't know.
There
There's
wasn't
no
a
way of-
way to kind of redistribute it a little bit?
I don't know if there's any other
Like
way to
move
make.
everything, like if everything moved a little north, and then of course that would push 8, 7, 6, and 5 a little more south. I mean, it just doesn't seem right. I mean, I don't really, I mean, I know the island, but
The thing with the south area too is that you number one, you got to get to the right numbers. But if you go further and further
Yeah.
north into Kona, then you get more and more urban. So I think the intent was to try most of South, especially Kau Pahala and the southern part of the Big Island is very rural. So I think the intent is to try to keep it as rural, as similar communities as possible. The more
Correct.
north,
Yeah, I understand that, but wow.
it's a challenge for sure. That
Yeah.
If I may state, in the commission's plan, it's even bigger. And certainly when you're trying to drive, in the commission's plan, House 5 goes all the way to Keao and includes many of those Malka
Right, yeah.
subdivisions.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's an excellent point. But I have another question though. So at the bottom of House 4, right by the ocean, and it's purple, like it's part of District 5.
Yes,
Why is that?
that's pretty much in Volcano Park.
the national park, yeah.
Again, that's the Senate district boundary for Senate 2. They used that boundary. We maintained it because we wanted to comply with that criteria, keeping the House districts in the Senate district. But it's basically, there's nobody in that area goes out into Volcano National Park.
Yeah, nobody lives there. They're just using the national park boundary as a natural boundary.
And the purple part is Volcano
The purple
National
side
Park.
is also, yeah, it's pretty much in the middle. I think it's very close to the Chanticleers Road where it goes down. I'm not really certain of that at the moment, but I believe that's where it is.
Yeah, no one
Okay.
lives there. Okay, anybody have any other questions about this map? I know that there are other maps that have been submitted as well.
Could I make a comment, please?
Yes,
Okay. I think one of the things we need to keep in mind about the Puna district is the fact that it is the fastest growing area in the islands. And
Mhm.
HPP in itself, I mean, people often now refer to Puna as the suburbs of Hilo. And because the population growth, if it hasn't already, it will at some point exceed Hilo. So we need to keep that in mind when we're looking at these boundaries. Thank you.
thank
I
you.
have a question.
Yeah.
Why is it that in the Voya community map, District 3 was able to confine the Puna Mauka subdivisions within the district, whereas in the commission map, the Puna Mauka subdivisions are lumped with Hilo, thereby violating one of the criteria in the Constitution, which says where practicable, submergence of an area in a larger district or in substantially different socioeconomic interests predominate shall be avoided. So that's clearly a violation. And why is it that the community map done by Ralph and a lot of community members were able to follow that guideline, and the commission map was not able to do that? What's the difference? I mean, what's the unknown variable that we don't know of?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer that. Dylan made the presentation the last time and explained their thinking, their mindset, but I don't know. Yeah, that District 3 and the commission's proposed map goes all the way into Hilo, into Kyokaha and Paneava.
So Ariel, maybe in 10 years, Ralph needs to put his name in to be on the commission.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chair,
Ralph.
Well, it's just really weird that the commission map violates a lot of the criteria in the Constitution. It's just really weird. Anyway, thank you very much.
I had a great deal of help, and my being there would not be enough. I need all of the people behind that help me.
So I know there were other maps that were
The
proposed.
village.
So let's try to move on to other maps of others here that submitted a map that wanted to discuss.
Steve,
Yes.
can you do me a favor with the meeting, since there's so many people participating tonight? It'll help me with the minutes if they can identify themselves before they offer any kind of comments or testimony.
Yeah, okay, let's, for the sake of
Thank you.
minutes and having some, some sense of logic, if you can first ask to speak, if I acknowledge you, then you can speak, but then you're gonna introduce yourself, yeah, so that in the minutes we know who's speaking, okay?
Chair, this is Shannon Matson again. I'm wondering, will we be permitted a time to testify after all the maps are presented? Or
Yeah,
are we
we'll
just
have-
kind of
we'll have-
taking
we'll have
popcorn testimony?
We'll have time for public testimony after the maps are presented, yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so what is the other maps that were presented? Just anybody else here that submitted a map that wants to speak to your map? No?
This is Amy. Whose map is on the screen now?
Is it,
The Casal, Bronston Casal.
Brunson is in the meeting.
I pulled
Brunson-
that on because I thought I saw him on the
Yeah, he's on.
participant list.
Yeah,
but
he's here.
Do you want to speak to the map, Brunson?
I'm sorry, I was running to come over and speak. I apologize.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Thank you, Steve, and appreciate it. There's basically in this this map, what I wanted to do is keep sort of the rural districts rural and keep kind of the urban core into the urban cores.
Mhm.
And specifically, I won't go too long because I know there's other people and we want to get through testimony. But for House District 1, for example, here, I added Kohala into this, and one of the hardest things that we've done is splitting Waimea. You either go on the outskirts of Waimea or you come very, very close to the town center. And then I kind of went all the way into Honomu, which is the within the judiciary district. But one thing that one of the things that I had issues with is trying to ensure that the Senate map is also conducive to the House map as well. So I know that's a criteria in which this commission has to do. But by setting that House District 1, everything else kind of sort of aligns together. So if you head down to House District 2, people a little bit outside of Hilo recognize themselves as Hilo people, and then goes right into downtown Hilo. House District 3 includes Keaukaha and Panayava, and it runs up Mauka on the Mauka side. Oh, I forgot to mention House District 2 is I added Mauna Kea onto that district, and I know in previous iterations it was included in House District 1. But as far as connectivity goes, unless House District 1 wraps into Mana Road or the Waikiki Ranch area to get into Saddle, it's just really difficult to get connectivity to the mountain in that district. And that's the same thing with District 3, because you have to drive up Saddle in order to get to Pohakaloa. Also, in the Keaukaha, I believe the Keaukaha Army Reserves has the Pohakaloa Command Center, so that's why I kept that all into one district. House District 4, nothing really much of a change to what you guys already know. And then House District 5 was Upper Puna. And one thing that the Hawaii County maps wasn't able to procure is placing Volcano into that district. So in this iteration, it does. There's nothing in the southern end of that district. So that could obviously go back between House District 6 or remain in 5 if you want Amalka Makai district. House District 6 is all primarily in Ka'u. Amy did talk about why it was so big. And just the numbers are not there. So you either have to push into Upper Puna or you have to push into Kona. In this iteration, I pushed into Kona. So it takes Pahala all the way up to portions of Kona. I think it goes past Kyoho, yeah. And then House District 7 is just Kona proper, goes all the way to the junction. And then House District 8 would be Northern Kona, portions of, or all of Waikoloa, and then portions of Waimea. But yeah, that's that in a nutshell. Any questions?
Yes. Susan Barbara.
Who has a question?
Thank you. Yes, I just had 2 questions. One, does the CASA map meet the all the criteria, all 8? And again, why is it always the little jig lines by keeping HPP solid like that? And basically, every time that does that with that purple jig at the C, that's keeping a voting block of the most powerful, united, wealthiest voters. And I just find it curious, all the gerrymandering ones where they jig-jag around like that, as opposed to just straight, logical, keep them like ahopua, like the Hawaiian culture is for farming, from the top, the pie being even all the way across to adjust, and of course, obviously adjusting for criteria and population. Thank you all for your service. I really appreciate your work on this.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions? For Bronson?
Can you answer the questions about the, does it meet the criteria, the CASA map?
Yeah, Bronson, can you answer a question?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. The only thing that I did not check the criteria on was whether or not the Senate map that was proposed recently is does it match to the closest possible to the district?
I think one of the criteria which Ralph brought up is to try to keep a House district in a Senate district. That is not mandated anywhere that they have to be.
Right. That's the only thing I didn't.
2 House districts per, like on Oahu, it's not like that at all. The proposed map, but as much as possible, where practicable is a language. It's in the instructions is where practicable. House district should be completely in one Senate district.
Yes.
So this is Amy. So
Yes.
in the current plan that we're in right now, do we meet that requirement of the House district being wholly within the Senate district?
I don't know that offhand. I don't know if David, if you folks know that offhand.
David or Roy?
Only on Maui. For the current districts, if you're referring to what we've had for the last 10 years, Maui is the only basic island unit where 2 House districts were completely contained in one Senate district.
You know, Dave, Royce, if this proposed map that Bronson submitted, if all of these House districts are completely in a Senate district?
I don't know. I don't have those overlays.
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
it's Ms. Bambera, this is Jamie on the
Yes,
council. Ms. Bambera, are you referring to the northern boundary of House District 6, the proposed House District 6? Now, why there are no straight lines?
No, sir, I am not.
Which district are you referring to?
Well, they have to put back up the COSAL map so I could refer to it.
You're just talking about District 4, the HPP,
Oh,
right?
yeah, where the jig jag between, at the C between House 3 and District 4. How they all come together as a block, and they kind of hug around the District 6, as opposed to making the straight pies from sea to mountain.
So to clarify that the commission is constrained on how the United States Census Bureau draws out the census tracts. So we have these weird wacky lines. They cannot deviate from those lines when they make the maps. So you have that weird portion in Puna that goes into the national park that would make sense to be in that Puna tract, but it goes into there's this like elbow or leg that goes along the coastline into Puna along the ocean.
Well, then that's
Yeah.
very interesting. Thank you. It just makes the community plan more feasible to me, because it looks where it keeps blocks of communities together, as opposed to having other. So then at least the community Voya plan keeps all of House 4 like a whole chunk, and all of the House 3 a chunk, and the House 5 a chunk. And obviously that little piece of Volcano where nobody lives, so nobody votes. It's okay that it's not included in the district. That'll be okay. So this makes more logical sense, from the sea to the mountains, just like the farming of Hawaii as well. That's to the ancient culture of how they would break things apart too. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Amy. I have
Yes.
another question. Sorry. So on the COSAL map and the Voya map, both of them took into consideration the testimony from all those HPP people that said we are one group, keep us together, right? Do they both?
They both, the HPP is intact in both of those maps, yeah.
In both of them, right? Okay, good.
Yeah. But you know, at the same time, we can talk about keeping HPP intact, which is great, and we should do that in most communities. But both of them, of course, split Waimea to some extent, one more than the other. And that's a community I'm sure would want to be intact as well. Yeah.
But with all due respect, HPP does not act as a community beyond the fact that they don't get along, and they're all in the same neighborhood subdivision, which they don't get along. That's a documented, ongoing litigation as we speak. So.
Susan, and tell her to shut up about that.
That's true. I think that HPP is more, as said earlier,
It's very
more
good, Ralph.
bedroom community. Most people.
You can be heard. You can be heard on the mic.
Yeah, you're not muted, Ralph.
That's really very rude.
Ariel, you are not muted.
Oh, Ariel's not.
They told me not to unmute.
Okay.
Sorry.
Anyhow, Amy, did you have another question?
No,
Your hand is
not
still
right
raised.
now.
Okay, so
Okay.
no problem. Anybody else have any questions about the maps, or anybody else that submitted a map wants to say something or present your map that you submitted?
That's fucking good.
I guess, Royce, if we can look at the other maps that were submitted real quickly, at least to look at them for the sake of interest. So, do we know who submitted this map?
Yeah, that's James Eustace, who I think was also on your county commission.
Oh, okay.
And he's got 3 different versions. And I don't know the different, I put the text over there on the left. I don't know if you can read it on your screen, but that's the text. And he didn't submit any additional description. So, all I have is the numbers and the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And he submitted 3 different versions.
Okay.
So that's version 1.
Okay.
Version 2 visually looks quite different.
Yeah, different.
and version 3,
Hmm.
which looks quite different.
Yeah, that looks
But
really good.
again, no, this is where when people submit maps, it's very helpful, like Ralph did. And Bronston also, just kind of explain your thinking. It really helps to understand these maps. I mean, it helps see the boundaries too, but that extra explanation really does help to understand.
Yeah, the logic behind the boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Amy again. So, Houston's map version 3, when was it submitted?
January 11th.
Before or after the January 11th? That was after the recount thing, right?
Yeah. All of these were done after we got the new population base.
Eight
Oh,
districts.
no kidding. Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people were busy, not
Okay,
just
sorry.
me.
Yeah.
It takes some doing
Sorry.
these maps and move the census box around. Yeah, they're not that easy to do to get to the right numbers.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, will
Can
the
you introduce
advisory?
yourself first? Just for the minutes, just say who's speaking.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. This is Ariel Murphy.
Okay,
And my question has to do with the advisory council's processes and procedures. How, I was wondering if you guys could give me an idea of how you would advise the commission as to which map seems the most viable. Is it, what criteria are we following, or is it the Constitution? Are we strictly following the criteria set forth in the Constitution? Or meaning, like, if we look at the maps and see which ones have the most compliance with the Constitution, or are we, how are we going to proceed is basically what I'm asking.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you.
So yeah, so for the purpose of tonight's meeting, we would, listen to all the testimony, look at all the maps, listen to all the testimony, and then the council can have a discussion and decide what, if anything, we want to do. I mean, the purpose of the body is to be an advisory council to give advice for the Big Island to the Hawaii State Reapportionment Commission. So the advisory council could choose to make a motion and vote and endorse a specific map and report that to the advisory commission. It could choose to not take a position. So it's really up to the members of the commission. We can take a vote and at the end of this meeting and make a decision. I mean, time is of the essence. The Reapportionment Commission has 3 meetings later this week, and I think it's going to vote on approving maps because it's a real small window. They want the final version to be done by the end of January so that the state elections office can begin to create the process for people to pull papers and begin the campaigning part of the upcoming election. So we'll take all the testimony and hear the testimony, and then the commission can make a decision. I mean, the advisory council can make a decision as to what position, if any, we want to take. Okay.
Thank you.
So, any other questions or testimony on the other maps that were presented? If not, we can go to testimony. I don't have any specific order of testimony. Whoever wants to testify has any oral testimony about the maps that have been presented. Let me know who wants to speak. Okay, Deborah Ward. I think you're muted, Deborah.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being willing to take this on, and I appreciate all the work you're doing. I feel very strongly that the Voya map is probably the best one. I don't see any issues with it, as there were with so many of the other maps, including the commission map. So I'm strongly in support of the Voya map, and I hope that you can find a way to pass it. Thank you very much.
Okay, and so we'll go to Shannon Matson then.
Thank you so much. Okay, so this is Shannon Matson. I just had a couple of questions slash like housekeeping type things that I'm wondering. One is, and I heard at the beginning of your meeting that the minutes aren't ready yet for the November 29th meeting. But I'm wondering if you ever submitted some sort of a report to the State Reapportionment Commission about that meeting. I never saw or heard it entered into their minutes. And I just, I'm just hoping that all of that testimony, even though it was on the 7 plan map and not the 8 plan map that we're now moving forward with, I just want to make sure for the record that did eventually make it into the record. That was one of my questions. My other question is that I did not receive any sort of email notification for this meeting tonight. Ralph emailed me this morning and that's how I found out about it. But I'm wondering, I thought we were supposed to be given some sort of notification, and if we're signed up for the email alerts that we should have gotten an email alert. So just also wondering if I can get some clarification on that. And then I have a brief testimony. I don't know if you're able to answer those questions or if I should just proceed with my testimony.
Yeah, I can answer the questions as best as I can. So yeah, we need to get the minutes completed and submitted to the record. That's a way of communicating to the commission as to what was discussed at our meetings. And then as far as tonight's meeting, the elections office puts up the meeting notices on the website. I don't know if they send out email notices to notify people about the meetings. I think it's just following sunshine laws. They just put up the notices within the time frame and post the agendas within the legal time frame. We had talked about trying to have a meeting earlier, but we had to, allow the number of days that the law mandates around the sunshine law. I know sometimes it's not a real user-friendly process because if people are not really aware and go and check the website, they wouldn't know to see that the meeting notices are posted in the website. I personally think we need a lot more user-friendly process to get the word out to people so that more people can participate. So I share your concerns, Shannon.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, so just briefly, I have submitted written testimony, but overall, I am in strong opposition to the commission's proposed 8 House district map, and in part to their Senate, final Senate map. I don't think that the lines adequately represent our community's needs, nor do they follow along with the state constitution criteria. I believe all of the other proposed maps do a much better job of meeting our diverse islands' needs and following the state constitutional criteria. If there were some amendments made to our proposed Senate maps, I would be absolutely 100% in favor of the proposed Voya community map. But as that map is following along with the state constitution criteria of putting 2 of each of the 8 House districts evenly into the 4 Senate districts, most of the issues I have with where the lines are drawn in that community map speak to limitations within the Senate maps that I think really should be addressed and corrected. I have a thorough breakdown of the areas I think that they could improve upon. I've already submitted it to the main reapportionment email address over a week ago, and I don't feel like they're necessarily addressing that, but I'm hopeful that maybe at the next meeting, they will have taken some of those suggestions into account. For the record, I also think the Casau and Justice version 2 maps do a very good job of encompassing the needs and meeting constitutional criteria. One of the main issues I have with the tech committee's maps is that it places the new seat into an area in Kona that, while of course, as we discussed earlier in this meeting, it has had significant increase in population growth, it's not the most desperately in need of increased representation. As the Puna district is the highest growing area on our island, in fact, in the entire state, and it's increased at over 20%, well above North Kona. And our Puna and Ka'u area has historically had the least amount of representation with the highest needs of low-income folks and infrastructure neglect. It seems abundantly clear to me that the area of our island that needs and deserves the most support is Puna. And rather than letting partisan politics divide us over this issue, I'm urging you to help urge the commission to please do the right thing and put a new seat where it belongs and get these minutes turned up as quickly as possible. I know you're volunteering, but please submit them if you can before, or some sort of a report summarizing this meeting to the commission at their next upcoming meetings before these final decisions are made. Mahalo nui.
Thank you. And let's see who else next. Mark, I can't read your last name. Starts with an M. Did you want to speak, Mark? I see your hand raised.
Is it Maki Morinoe?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Maki
Oh,
Morinoe.
Wait,
From,
the font is so small on this thing.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for this opportunity. I second a lot of these testimonies before me. I feel after looking at the maps and attending a lot of these meetings, that still the Voya community plan map is much more inclusive, and visually you can just tell it has kind of a succinct representation of each location and not splitting up similar demographics and needs. So I'm in strong support with the Voya community plan. Thank you.
Okay, Kay Springer.
Hi, thanks for taking my testimony. Oh, sorry, I'm getting feedback too. Hopefully you can hear me all right. I'm a 20-year resident of the Hamakua Coast. I live near Honolulu, and I'm also in favor of the Voya plan. It seems to do a better job of, as you know, Shannon pointed out, meeting the community's needs. I like the way it follows recognizable boundaries. You know, as the commission plan was presented, you know, we had to ask over and over again, what boundary is this? What is it following? What is that road? It's following some minor roads where there's a major road a block away. So this plan really, it's obvious to a Big Island resident what these divisions are, and they make sense. I think it's at terms of the population and just reducing the road miles. It was able to connect Ka'u district somewhat. It maintains mostly that rural character of the Ka'u district. And as many others have said, the Puna district is the fastest growing. That's not going to change. And we do need to see strong representation in that area. My district is changing quite a bit, but I think that's okay. The southern part of what used to be House District 1 is becoming much more suburban. From Honolulu North, we're still ranching territory and farmers, and so are our friends and neighbors around Kohala. So I think that works. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Jeff McKnight.
Thank you. My name is Jeff McKnight, and I'm a resident of Pauila, which geographically is in the Hamakua district. And I also support the Voya community plan. And the main reason I do is because it seems to do a much better job of keeping groups with similar socioeconomic interests in the same district. It also closely follows all the criteria set forth in the Hawaii State Constitution, where the HRC plan, the committee plan, does not follow, as I can tell, at least 3 of the 8. The BCP also places 2 House districts. The Voya plan places 2 House districts into each of the Senate districts. And again, the Hawaii Redistricting Committee plan does not follow that constitutional criteria. And finally, it has a lower deviation in resident population numbers assigned to each district. But I think that the main reason is that it does a really good job of keeping groups with similar socioeconomic interests in the same district. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ralph Voya, did you have your hand raised? Did you want to offer some testimony?
Yes, I have my hand raised. Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, or actually for the advisory council committee for the work you're doing. You know, the community plan that we developed, we've been in consultation with 60 to 80 people around the island constantly over the last several weeks, trying to get their input and make sure that this plan was the best plan for the entire island of Hawaii. You know, the issue of whether or not someone is following the constitutional requirements, it's an important one. It's in Article 4, Section 6 of the state constitution. It says, in effecting such redistricting, the commission shall be guided by the following criteria. And then under Section 6, it says, where practicable, representative districts shall be wholly included within the senatorial districts. So what does practicable mean? The definition says that practicable means is capable of being done. Can you do it? If you can do it, then you shall do it. The community plan shows that it can be done. Our plan has the lowest deviation of all the plans in terms of the population in each of the House districts at 3.979% for us versus 4.74 for the commission's plan. And the Council plan, I think, was at 7.91. So we showed that it can be done. You can put the House districts in the Senate districts, and it just really makes the most sense. We've had input from many, many people, and we've tried to make sure that their input has been utilized. I think, you know, I covered it in my discussion of what the plan looks like, where the boundaries are, et cetera. So we don't need to go into that. You know what it is. You've heard this all from the people that are testifying now. So again, this plan, I think, is the fairest thing that we can come up with, given the criteria that the Constitution sets forth, given the boundary lines you have to follow, and given those really weird census maps that give you areas that create all the wiggly lines that people don't like, including myself. So I really ask you to please read my written testimony. It goes into detail. It gives you all the information I hope you need. And please support the community plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wanting to offer testimony tonight?
Yeah, Richard Beidelman here.
Yes.
I guess what I can offer here is I lived in the Puna district for 15 years, and I now live in Honokaa. And I see the plan that has been put together is a good compromise in the fact that we carve out part of Waimea for District 1, because I think the constituents in that part of Waimea is more typical of the constituency in the Honokaa or the rest of District 1. And of course, having lived in Puna for 15 years, the division, the way Ralph has dealt with HPP, in my estimation, is right on. And so I support Ralph's plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is Shannon Rudolph?
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
I'm Shannon Rudolph. I live in Holualoa. I'm a 40-year resident of Hawaii Island. I see in the chat there's 2 other people that support the Voya plan, as do I. I feel Puna has been really underrepresented for a long time, and I think they need a new House seat, even though I'm a Kona resident. I think they're really underserved there, and it's the fastest growing area. So I support that plan. And one thing that I'm concerned about is that any plan that's selected that doesn't meet the criteria, I vaguely remember maybe 20 years ago that there was a lawsuit over the redistricting. And I sure don't want to see that happen again, because that costs I think it cost the state a bunch of money to have to go to court with the community groups that sued. So don't do that, okay? Thank you. Aloha.
Thank you. Ariel Murphy.
Aloha, it's Ariel Murphy. I support the Voya Community Plan, basically because it meets all, if not most, of the criteria set by the Constitution. And secondly, it was a very community participative plan. A lot of people from all over the island, of our island, participated in doing this plan. And I don't know if the other plans, and specifically the commission plan or the technical committee plan, is equally participative. And lastly, I support the Voya plan because Puna, I'm from Puna, I'm a Punatic and proud of it. Puna needs this kind of redistricting, this kind of redistricting plan that will give Puna more voice in getting their needs, in getting our needs met. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeannie iPhone.
Yes, hi, it's Jean Wheeler. Yeah, I'm in the Puna district down near Kalapana, and I want to say that I support the Voya community plan as well. And people have stated most of the reasons why already, and I'm in agreement with their reasoning as well. And really do feel that, yes, we need more representation here. So I would like to see that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, mahalo. Okay.
Anybody else that wanted to testify that I haven't called on?
Yes, Susan Bombara, I just wanted to make a clear statement. Thanks for all the answers of my questions. I do support the community plan because it does most reflect the criteria's needs, but also the ancient Hawaiian way that the island was broken apart in the Ahuapua way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? If not, any of the other advisory council members have any comments, anything to say? I know that I think Jamie had to leave for a work emergency. So it's just Susan, me, and Amy here now, I think. Yes, Amy?
So is this our last chance to hear input on our island?
My assumption this probably would be the last advisory council meeting, given the reality of the time for the reapportionment commission to make a final map. Yeah.
The one on the 20th is this island though, right? No,
no, that's a full
commission.
advisory commission is having 3 meetings on the 20, 21, and 22.
And any of them are this island?
Well, this includes this map. This is state approving the state maps for the congressional map, state senate, and the state house district maps statewide. So it would include our island, of course, as part of the state. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So I don't know if the advisory council, wants me to make any kind of report to the reporting commission at his next meeting. I mean, we can, we can offer a position. We can not offer a position. It's up to the board. Somebody wants to, I think the easiest way to do it is to if somebody wants to make a motion, if we have a majority vote, then we can report that to the advisory commission at its next meeting.
Okay, I so move
What are you moving?
that you make a report.
No, what is the report going to say though? Are we going to recommend anything to the advisory commission?
So because of the Sunshine Law, this is the only chance that we have to discuss this matter, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what we're here for, is we need to give some kind of recommendation.
Give advice to the reapportionment commission. Yeah, I think that's the purpose of the advisory council.
Right, but then there's testimony from the public, and then there's our own opinions also? Or is it strictly opinion, testimony?
I mean, everybody that's testified tonight has an opportunity to testify again at the reapportionment commission meetings. You can submit written testimony, you can attend the meeting and offer verbal testimony as well.
And I think our opinions would be partly based on all the testimony that we've heard and all the maps that we've looked at.
Yeah. So basically, I know in the agenda of the advisory commission, one of the first orders of business is to ask if any of the advisory councils have a report to make. So.
Right. Okay, so I have a question. So you know how Shannon said that even though Kona had a large growth spurt, they're well represented, but Puna also, considering the area and it's considering it's East Hawaii, they had a huge growth spurt. So they need the, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Never mind. Erase. Sorry.
I mean, I think there's a lot of pros in that plan, and especially the idea of keeping each House district completely in a Senate district, and keep two House districts completely in a Senate district is an ideal situation. It can be done. In a lot of areas, like in Oahu, it becomes really impossible to do. But we have 8 House districts and 4 Senate districts at this point. So I commend them for making the effort and trying to do that.
And that's going under the assumption that the commission's proposed Senate map will be approved, and so the 2 per Senate is based on their proposed Senate map, not the current one, right?
Yeah, their proposed, yeah, because that takes into context of the move in population over the last 10 years. Yeah. So hence the move the boundary. Still end up with same number of Senate seats, but the boundaries have moved in their proposed map. Yes, but I mean, my personal opinion, I highly doubt that there's going to be any changes to the reapportionment commission's proposed Senate maps at this point.
Yeah, doesn't seem like people really weren't too concerned about that.
I haven't heard a lot of testimony in any of the meetings that I've been in as far as the Big Island Senate maps. There were a lot of discussion on Oahu, but not on the Big Island.
So, okay, who's still here? Did Jamie leave? And is it just you, me, and Marlene?
Because he has some kind of work emergencies.
Susan and some other people. Oh, reapportionment commission people are still here. Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, okay, so my motion is, I think that definitely we need to provide a report with our
We don't necessarily have to endorse any specific plan, but we can make a report saying that, we heard testimony and that the advisory council was, impressed with this plan, that the Voya plan, incorporates 2 House districts in each Senate. It keeps the communities together as much as possible. It's compact and contiguous as much as possible. It meets most, if not all, of the criteria. So we
don't need to make a formal motion that we recommend the Voya plan. We can just to the commission, we can just say,
when I work for the council, and a lot of times we have to do reports on meetings, and we don't express yay or nay or what we think. It's just simply stating what took place in the meeting. So Steve could make a report saying that public testimony was largely in favor of blah, 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 and other maps, the Kasau map and Houston map were also considered because then everyone will know that it wasn't just a one-sided review of just one specific map. But I don't know if we have to endorse any specific plan. I don't know, Steve, what do you think? You're the chair.
Well, I think that, at this point, if we have strong feelings about any specific map or how the 8 districts are going to be assigned, I think that we should make them known to the advisory commission before they make a final decision, because I think that's what the advisory commissions are set up to do, was to have these meetings with the community, get the pulse of the local community, and then make offer advice to the reapportionment commission so they can make a fully informed final decision.
You might want to add that the Voya plan had the most community participation.
It's important as well, as far as having community input. That was very important, especially given the reality
Oh,
of
that was Frankie raised, sorry, Frankie Tang just raised his hand. Hi, Frankie.
Hi, well, I don't want to give anybody the impression that it was a unanimous thing in support of the Voya plan. I think I'm the only one who lives in Waimea in this group right now. And I have to say, I don't think people in Waimea are going to like this. So I'll just go on record saying that.
Yeah, it's always a challenge when any community is split. In an ideal world, every community would be kept intact as much as possible, but unfortunately, given the reality of census blocks and trying to meet the criteria and the numbers, I remember 20 years ago, I was on the county redistricting and reapportionment commission for the county council district, and we ended up having to do the same thing, having to trying to keep the council district in Hamakua, find the numbers. We either had to take some of Hilo or some of Waimea, and we felt Waimea was more like Hamakua than Hilo was, so we ended up doing that. But I know we had a lot of concern from people in the Lakeland area that why we were splitting Waimea. But it's one of those realities when you move census blocks around, to get to that specific number, because the law says you have only X amount of deviation from the ideal number. So unfortunately, kind of situation.
I understand that, and I just, it is what it is.
But
So Frankie, do any of the other maps, which
I'm
map
sorry?
keeps Waimea intact?
Yeah,
I think probably the house plan.
the
What house plan?
state reapportionment plan.
Yeah, the Hawaii House proposed. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's really hard to allocate fairly. Well, it's probably impossible, but you guys do the best you can. It's fine.
So yeah, we can make a report to the reapportionment commission as to what, basically a brief report about what happened tonight. That we heard testimony, and that the overwhelming majority of the testimony was in favor of the Voya plan, and that we observed that it does meet most, if not all, of the criteria. It makes a concerted effort to keep the communities intact as much as possible. Of course, not including Waimea, because that unfortunately wasn't possible. But yeah, so I mean, we can make a report to that nature. We don't have to specifically endorse any specific plan, I don't think.
And the good news is we get it under the House seat. Hey.
Yeah, big on the ends of it, a little bit more representation. That's always good news. Okay, anything else? Any other comments or otherwise?
We need a second and we need to vote.
Okay, I'm not real clear on the
wait.
motion.
Okay, wait, you need to, is anybody taking minutes on this? Because Jamie's not here, right?
It's
Okay.
being recorded.
motion? Just what, Steve, you made the motion of what you said?
Basically, that we're going to make a report to the Reapportionment Commission from the Hawaii Island Advisory Council that, we took public testimony. We looked at the different plans, including the revised Hawaii Reapportionment Commission plan draft and the Voya plan and the other plans. And that the overwhelming majority of the testimony was in favor of the Voya plan. And
Yes.
again, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then.
Okay, I second.
Okay. So it's just
And then
three
we
of us
vote.
voting, right?
Marlene?
Okay. Any
You're
other
voting?
comments or
Yeah, we're
questions?
voting.
We'll vote. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Then unless we have any other questions, any other testimony, we'll adjourn. And hope all of you can attend the upcoming Reapportionment Commission meetings. Thank you all. Have a good
I so
evening.
move.
Thank you
I
for.
so move. We adjourn.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you all for participating. And this is, this elections in American democracy works because people like you all that take the time and energy to get involved and put your knowledge and manal out there. So thank you all for being part of this process. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Amen.
Thank you. Aloha.
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 Hey, how do I move?